Welcome to another episode of No Ordinary Woman, where we recognise and celebrate women of all ages and all stages. I'm Fiona Briffa, and I'm so excited to introduce to you today Moira Kelly. Hi, Moira.
Hello, Fiona. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited. I'm a little bit fangirling at the moment. Moira is just an inspirational woman, which if you've never seen her on TV before, then I don't know where you've been. But Moira is the founder of the Creating Hope Foundation. Yeah. And Moira, I just want to, first of all, Moira is a humanitarian that has been working with children, sick children and their families for many, many years, and started out when you were, I just want to go back to when you were 7 years old and you saw Mother Teresa on TV and you said, I want to work with her.
Yeah.
How does a 7-year-old know that, Moira? She wants to be a humanitarian.
Well, I heard about it too through school. Don't underestimate the things the teachers tell you in primary school, because some things, I always have an expression called a seed.
Yes.
A seed is planted, and sometimes it evolves as you get older. Yeah. And it's a seed in this is an acronym for a thought and a memory, you know. So, and then the teachers were talking about different people doing all this wonderful work, and those days you heard about people in the Far East and Africa, and I said, oh wow, I started having a passion for that there, and that there was such a woman in the world that was doing all this beautiful work in India. So that blew me away. And also then the priests would talk about her, and I just started having scrapbooks, and even the neighbours would collect scrapbooks on kids with disability or kids from overseas, and I would while people collecting kiss cards and ever cards, I was collecting things like that. So ever since a little kid, that she's became my great mentor, and someone like, you know, someone famous you want to meet, like Shirley Temple those days. Well, mine was Mother Teresa.
Wow. Well, that is amazing. And from 7 years old, and then you realized your dream, and you, like you said, the seed was planted at that age. When you were 21, you actually went over to work with Mother Teresa.
I did, yeah. I spent a year in West Australia in the desert with the Aboriginals, and then made my way back to Oz and sold my car. And I figured, I said, I'm old enough to go now. No one can stop me. So I bought my ticket with my car. Yeah. And then I arrived in Calcutta. I remember my family were at the airport, and my brothers, and they were wearing sunglasses, my sister, and they were seeing me off. And I remember my brother, one of them saying to Mum, you're not really going to let her go. Like, it was like the dawn. They really realised I was happening. And at that age, you still think your mum and dad's going to stop you. So I said, oh, don't worry, you know, Mum, I've got a great place to stay, a great place to work, and I've got all these wonderful people meet me at the airport. And so, of course, none of that was true, but what she didn't know didn't hurt her. But I knew Mother Teresa was famous. So once I get to Calcutta, I'll just sort it out there. I just want to get on that plane before somehow your parents could stop you. So, my dream was to meet Mother. And then, of course, you meet, and I met Mother lots and lots and lots of times in Calcutta, because you go there in the morning for mass, and she always talks to volunteers after it, and she's often traveling overseas as well, of course. Yeah. But you know, in my course of my life, I've met lots of Mother Teresas as well, who aren't necessarily Catholic nuns. Yeah. And these quiet achievers who do extraordinary things in their lives. So you get inspired by, you know, sometimes other people, you know, you have these mentors. And still, certainly Mother Teresa is still the one for me, but sometimes you even need to look around your own dinner table and forget that some of those are your best mentors as well, without realising.
Yeah, amazing. And this is what I love about No Ordinary Woman, is like finding these little gems. And like you said, that you don't do this work for fame and glory and fortune. This is something that you pretty much give up everything to go and follow. It's service, isn't it? Like you've got a life.
Yeah, I've always just wanted to work in Calcutta, and then, you know, well, then when I was in Calcutta, I met this lovely lady you meet the other volunteers. I remember meeting this lady from Denmark, and she'd worked in other countries like Africa and something out there, and you hear her stories, you think, wow, she's amazing. You know, it's funny, Fiona, in life, we always see the good in others before we see the good in ourselves. But you get a hunger. It's like people who love their sport, they get a hunger for their sport. It's like people get a hunger for fashion and they want to study it more. So, you know, humanitarian is no different to that. Yeah. You know, you get inspired by others, and those you also get inspired by those you serve. Yeah. And you know, people say, God, Moira, you're amazing what you do, but isn't it sad that you know, what I do should be very ordinary, should be normal. We all should do that, and that's how I see it. And see, probably the people that I hang out with, and the people that subconsciously not realize that you make friends with, or friendship groups, whether it's in Australia or abroad or in these countries, they're probably like-minded people. So you sometimes think we're all the same anyway, but if you're in the fashion industry, you're going to hang out with people like that without even realizing it. So you know, it's just probably another industry, but it's just a different sort of lifestyle, and it's still, the passion is no different to someone that loves medicine, you know.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. It's just that everyone's got their built-in passions to show them their path and purpose in life, and yeah, it just blows my mind that you are talking about other people being inspiring, whereas like I look at you and find you inspiring. But it's a really good reminder that like you said, that seed that gets planted in you, to let it, to water it and let it flow and let it grow. And like your parents could have stopped you, or people around you could have said, oh, you can't do that, and let their fears interfere with you living out what you feel is your purpose in life or your passion in life.
Or the ordinary life, like people having normal, like they said, the normal life. I used to be referred to when I was young as Moira, she's a bit crazy, she does all these crazy things, you know. And it wasn't until a couple of times people say, oh, your daughter's doing amazing work, and I suppose those close to you don't see it like that. You don't see it like that either. But so maybe over the course of it, you're not so crazy Moira anymore. It's just what you do.
It's just who you are.
Yeah, it's who you are. It's in your genes. It is who you are, and it's your life experiences as well.
Yeah.
So don't ever. It's not just the places you go; it's the people that have effect on you. So you're always going to meet people somewhere in your journeys that they've planted a seed in you. They've made you think things differently. You know.
Yeah.
Because even we can learn things as we get older, even in the area. So people have a lot people influence us a lot in our journey, and they're meant to be on that. I believe life in a great big pathways, and the pathways we take, and they start as we're very young, but some of those pathways have got a couple of pathways there, but it's which one you choose. And there's the old famous book, The Road Less Traveled, and whether you want to see it like that or not, but sometimes that really crucial time is the pathway you take is whether you do or you don't. It's a free choice, is where that takes you. And whether you want to be just comfortable the rest of your life and always something you want to do, I'm never going to get around to it. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and do it.
Amazing.
And I always believe, just sometimes in life, if you think about things too much, like I always say, I had the expression long before Nike ever did, sometimes you just got to do it. Because like I remember I used to sit there years ago, and we used to bring all the kids out from overseas, and I'd sit them all around my table from all these different countries. I think, and if you really thought about it, you start getting nervous, thinking, oh my God, I'm responsible for these people, and this person's got a heart problem, this person's got this, anything go wrong. You just got to let it go, because otherwise all of us in our facets of life, we can think too heavily, and sometimes you just have to go with it.
And that's it. Like, you can think of everything that could go wrong, or you can think of everything that could go right, because there's always going to be both.
And that's what makes us human, So you've got to be sensible, but sometimes you just got to go with it and don't think too much, because you think too much, none of us would do anything.
Yes, that's so true. Fear would hold us back, and other people's fear can hold us back as well, like people telling you everything. But it just, so you went to Calcutta and you literally just went there and then worked it out as you went. You didn't have the big entourage waiting for you, like you told your mum.
No.
You didn't have a plan. You just
once I got somewhere to stay, I then just then started asking people on the street where was Mother Teresa. Oh my God, that's basically what I started asking. There's not many people. That's what you do. And they say you don't have those Googles and they had all these things then, and phones, and you don't have the map. So you just try and get directions. And people are very helpful. They want to practice their English on you. So you realise after an hour you're going around the same block. You've come back to the same place again. So, but a lot of people in India do speak English, the Anglo living English speaking schools. So eventually you find someone who brings you in the right direction. But even that's part of it. You can't expect life to be easy all the time, Well, and you got to sort of suck it up and just get on with it. Okay, I've got to do this. And I was young and I was white and fair, but sometimes you still just got to go with it.
You didn't pick the easy road, like that, the road less traveled and the narrow gate. You didn't pick the easy road, but man, it must be rewarding, because you went on from there. You worked with Mother Teresa. You have worked in so many different places. Like, reading your profile just blew my mind. You've been to places like Bosnia, Albania, Romania, Botswana, the Bronx, working with babies. And so all of these places that you worked was just about, where can I go and where can I make a difference? What led you to specifically wanting to bring kids over? Because you came back to Australia and you started bringing kids from overseas over to...
No, probably in Bosnia. Well, first of all, the reason you end up in these places, sometimes I'd read something on a magazine, or I'd hear someone doing something. So, I think I might go there. And that's how I ended up in the Bronx for 2 years with the crack and AIDS babies and the homeless. But when I was in the Bronx, someone asked me to go to Ireland for the weekend, discuss about going to Romania. because a massive humanitarian effort was being launched in Romania at the time, and the Irish were moving in there because Romania had the worst case of little kids with AIDS in the world at that time. 65% of all Europe's AIDS pediatric cases were in Romania. So I didn't think I'd ever leave New York and the Bronx, because I just loved it, and I loved the people and the work, and of course this was something that I ended up following, and I ended up going to Romania in charge of the Irish Romanian Children's Appeal. It was a place there in Bucharest for kids with AIDS, and it was an amazing place there. But it was then that adjacent to Romania is the great country Yugoslavia, and there's a war going on there, and I just wanted to have a bit of a break from Romania at the time, and I had lost a lot of kids there, and I just wanted to just be a normal volunteer again, not be in charge or anything. And so I just went to Bosnia and moved into a refugee camp there and set up a dispensary, and got my trucks that used to come from Ireland to Romania, got them to come to Bosnia. And things just grew. Everything happens for a reason when it all comes together. But it wasn't until people started coming to me with sick kids who couldn't be fixed in their own country. And I kept thinking, God, I don't do things like that. I just always thought you had to be, I always thought you had to have three special qualities. I thought, number one, you had to be someone with lots of experience, lots and lots of experience, someone with lots of money, and someone who was very special. And I knew I didn't fit into any of those categories. And I always thought you had to be one of these big NGOs. But sometimes in life, you just got to pick up the phone and just ask someone, oh, I know this child over here. I don't know if there's chances someone like Ireland or could help this child. Anyway, so my first lot of kids before I ever came to Australia was I took loads of kids to the States, and I took loads of kids to Ireland and to Austria, and a couple of kids like to Belfast and to Britain, not as many. So I was taking kids there first before I ever brought kids to Oz, and people who say you're bringing your kids down under. I said, no, but mark my words, I'm on my way one of these days, because if you ask a mother for a sick child in Bosnia, they're not going to care where Australia is. They just care about their child, So, maybe my life's a little bit easier when I'm talking to other people, because when I'm sitting in front of a family like that and a child, there's not a person in Australia that really wouldn't do what I was doing, when you realise I can't do this, so you make phone calls. So don't underestimate the people who receive those phone calls and where it goes,
And that just speaks to your just do it, because I mean, 2 out of 3 I will agree with. If you didn't have a lot of money, you didn't have a lot of experience, but you are special. The fact that you are brave enough to step out there and just follow that heart calling that you have, and that is special. That is brave. That is amazing. So yes, you are special. I'm going to just, I'm definitely going to disagree with that one. So it is, I think, the theme of your life is just do it, just find a way, just don't overthink it. And it's amazing. For me, even as you're speaking, I'm thinking, like, what holds us back? What stops us from doing what we really want to do, and why as a society do we focus so much on maybe building a business, and I know everyone's got a different some people's calling is to build a business to be able to serve in that capacity, but I wonder how many people are holding themselves back because they don't know where to start, or they don't know
what it is. I think it's one of these things, they don't really hold it back, they just put it off. A lot of people, and that's the biggest mistake you make. And I learned that when I was coming back from India, and I was saving up to go back to India again, and all these people want to meet me because they wanted to go there. I found myself meeting people for coffee, talking to them for ages and never going. So I got to the stage and I realized, you know what, I would then only talk to people. I said, look, I'm happy to meet you, but you give me a date when you're leaving, otherwise I'm not going to meet you, because their intentions are always good and they really want. There's a lot of housewives and people who've had kids, something they've always wanted to do when they were young women. There's no reason they can't do it when they get old, once their kids have grown up. So it's a matter of thinking, they're wondering when the best time is, and they always put it off. So, look, I've got a special needs child now, so my life's a little bit different, because if my kids have grown up, I'd be off again, I'll be honest with you. So whether I can take her with me in the future, I'm not too sure, but I'm certainly not going to stay in Australia forever. I'd like to go back overseas, certainly, and whether I can take her with me, that would be something I've been thinking of. But I just think sometimes you've got to make it work in your life. So I'd be a great one in believing is that we just put it off, and sometimes even I would suggest people, if they had a dream, because a lot of people always want to go to missions or do volunteer work somewhere. I'll be honest, there's a lot of people from school, they want to do it. Even just take a month off and, rather than go on your Bali holiday, just say, I might ring up and see where some agencies are. I just go over there. Or when you go to your Bali holiday, find out where the local orphanage or places like that are that you can do some volunteer work. So start feeding your soul a little bit then, and then it will go from there. But there's And don't forget what's close at home as well. Like there's things that you can do at home in your own community as well.
Yeah.
And there's local soup kitchens. There's the aged care places. So, you know, always think local. Mother Teresa was great things like this. You always go back and go back and help your community as well, you know.
Yeah, I love that. So we put it off. We don't avoid it so much as we put it off and think there's a better time for it.
Oh,
But
you'll
also,
do it. Yeah.
would you say also you don't have to make it your life's work like you have. It could be something you do one day
You've got
a
to
month.
feed your soul. Yeah, feed your soul, something you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And just sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and do it. Well, you know, I'm going to make that phone call.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do it. I really admired that person I saw on TV. I saw that commercial. Sometimes you go say, you know, I'm going to ring up and see if I can offer one afternoon a week.
Yeah.
Kids go to school, I can do this, or I'm retiring soon, what can I do? So sometimes you just got to, we just put things off in life.
Oh, this is great, Moira.
I really believe that. Because all of us, we all do it. Even I do that. We procrastinate.
Yeah, because we think we're waiting for the best time. We're waiting for, like you said, we're waiting for the experience. We're waiting for the finances. We're waiting for something, but you've just got to just do it.
Yeah, sometimes just do it.
If it feels good, do it. I love that, Moira. So this is, imagine getting advice on how to go out and serve the community from the Australian Order of Australia winner. Now, Moira, you've won over 20 awards for your humanitarian, I counted them, of your humanitarian work, including the Order of Australia medal. Have I said that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
do you, when you get these awards, do you sort of step back and think, I didn't do it for, because you don't do it for awards or glory, do you?
When I first got the first, I thought, oh my God, this is great. It's going to cover my airfares. I'll be honest, I just thought that, or it's going to cover a few airfares. And I realised not those sort of awards don't win that. But then I realised, you know, the most important thing it gives credibility when you're asking hospitals or doctors or you're going to an airline to get sort of a discount. So, and when you have a problem with visas, you can contact people because you've got the credibility behind you and you can't put a price on that.
That is fantastic. And I love how you see that. It's like people that have become famous actors and use that for their community and giving. So you see that as a resource rather than an accolade, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, because I don't think I've ever met anyone as humble as you in my life. It's like, you're just here to serve everyone else. So you brought out, like, you're most famous for bringing out Trishna and Krishna and the co-joined twins, and we all watched with our breath held and our prayers going upward when those two girls came over. But since then, you've also you've got Ahmed and Emmanuel as well, which I hadn't heard about, and that you've brought them over, and are they now?
Well, they're adults now, really. I brought them out when they were kids, yeah. I sort of never really intended them to stay here at that time. I wasn't sent to live here. I thought they were going to go back, but then things happened in life at that time in Iraq and here, and you know, they weren't going back to any family, so they sort of recreated our family then. It would sort of put me on the ground a little bit, and ended up keeping them in Australia because they didn't have any family, and the war in Iraq was pretty bad at the time. But probably it's funny how Trishy and Chrissy are the people that, but there's actually a case that was when the Bosnian kids came out, they were probably the most famous cases at the time, because the Bosnian was a war during so at the same time as the war in Africa too. There was a war going on there as well, but it was in the minds of people. And these were the first kids to come to Australia, and all the hospitals were fantastic. They opened up their doors to all these kids, and you know, I was leaving it really early in the morning in a town that was under siege, and I had a convoy getting kids out, a bunch of kids who had got their visas and leaving still before it was sunset and sunrise, and getting these kids out, and had protection, getting them out and getting them here in Australia, and some of these kids were amputees or different little kids, and it made big use. It sort of made me realise that, well, this is how you can bring the minds of people thinking differently here, especially for these poor kids in Bosnia. So they probably broke me the most, to see the war and how bad it was and how real it was at the time. So probably to the people recently, Trishna and Krishna, but certainly I would say the Bosnian kids were probably a real eye-opener for Australia. And I didn't realise the impact it was going to make on here in my own country. And so that's when I just started bringing kids every year then from Bosnia, living there. You know, I lived there for 5 years, just under 5 years in Bosnia.
Yeah, amazing. And like the kids that you've actually kept here have all gone on to have amazing lives and go on to fulfill you know, have opportunities.
Their
that
dreams and
they
their
wouldn't have
passion. They're following their passion.
Yes,
Yeah, well,
following their passion.
Emmanuel's a singer and Ahmed's a swimmer, and
Yes.
yeah, they've gone off to do their things, and
Yeah.
yeah, so they're young men now,
Yes.
and then of course the girls are young teenage girls, and they've had a few. One of them's had a lot of problems medically, but we're getting through that. And she's got special needs, but I wouldn't change it for quit. She's so beautifully perfect to me.
Oh,
so yeah, it's funny in life that comes along in your journey too, when suddenly you really do become a mum for a special needs kid, and that's been a real eye opener. And unless you're walking the shoes of a special needs mum, no one really understands it. And so there's nothing more you cherish, and you realize all you care about is like you care about all your kids, but when you have a child like that, it's just a different journey that you've been blessed with. And and just to see them flourish, and that's been probably a really big experience for me, was having her. It's a sort of a life change that's been feel very blessed with, you know.
Wow, that is amazing. So your home is always full, isn't it?
Yeah, we've had a bit quiet during COVID. One of our kids here was very sick all through COVID, so that was a bit tough. One of our children very sick, so I spent a lot of time in children. So COVID for me was very much about the kids' hospital for 2 years, I'll be honest. But the other kids here, so we didn't bring any more kids in. I sent some kids home before things got bad. So I'm just in the process of getting a bunch of kids out now this year. We've got a few kids coming from Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and the Congo, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're coming. Yeah, coming in the next few weeks, probably by next month. Some will be here, and then by September.
Wow.
So getting back to that, and just going to private hospitals, not the public hospitals, because we have enough kids waiting for surgeries as well. So and some kids will be under other sort of treatment other than surgery. So so the journey continues.
You're unbelievable. So you're doing all this work on the front line. So if there are people watching this video thinking, all right, I'm probably not going to be able to do that, but how can we support you? How can people support you and the Moira Kelly Creating Hope Foundation?
Well, there's a few things. There's always volunteers and drivers we're looking for. But the other thing is we're going to be actually looking for foster families this year. We call them host families. Just who could take some of the kids who've had their surgeries and waiting around. We're going to ask people to take them like once a month or during school holidays, and we'll just go through the normal checks with them, and we'll meet them, they'll meet us, and the police checks and everything. And so we're looking at that this year to see if we can get, just so the other kids who live in the house have a bit of a normal life as well. And so we're looking at host families this year to help for school holidays and weekends. And also, you know, we're always looking for people to do little fundraisers. Every little bit counts. So that's a big, because we're all volunteers. No one gets paid here. I've been very adamant about that. And our wonderful board are all volunteers. So, so we're certainly, it hasn't been quite over COVID. It's been a different busy, but it's just that now that the other kids will start coming in again, you know.
Yes, rightio. So if you are watching this and you really would like to get behind Moira and the foundation, then I will leave all the links for the foundation and links to Moira so that you can get in contact with her. If you haven't been able to find it through that, you can get in contact with me and I'll put you onto it. But Moira, it has been an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you this morning. And I'm like, just to recap on your takeaway, is if Moira's message, if you wanted to go out there and do something in a service capacity, in a community service or humanitarian or whatever it is that's on your heart, that seed that's inside you, just take that first step, just make that first call, and you don't have to commit to a lifetime like Moira has. You could just go do something, yeah?
That's it. Perfectly said, yep. And little things in great ways.
Yes, every little thing. If every one of us did something small, it all adds up. Like those micro things equal macro results, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing.
True to
well,
words.
Moira, it's been an absolute pleasure. I could talk to you all day, but I know we haven't got that much time. But I will leave Moira's contact details in the description of this video. And I just thank you so much for your time, Moira.
No worries. I'll just leave one last thing. Is, you know, you look at the war in Ukraine, you know, like I lived in the war of Bosnia, and probably what inspired me going to Bosnia was I look at what happened in the Holocaust, and I looked at Germany. I can't look at, a lot of us as normal people, we can't look at those films, and because we get so upset about it, we just think we get more frustrated. So Bosnia was one of those things where I can do something, because our grandchildren are going to ask us, what did you do? That Bosnian war was when you were alive. What did you do? Well, I did something. So here's a time with Ukraine, you know, just because we're Australian doesn't mean it's not our problem. There's little things we can do, whether it's collecting things or raising some money or doing something, because, you know, just because they're over there doesn't mean it's our problem. Just because our passport, doesn't dictate who is safe and who's not. We all have an obligation to help each other. So Ukraine is as much our problem as is theirs. So somehow, with any natural disaster or things that get on, we all should be there for each other.
Oh, I love that. Yes, and I agree. So that really has stirred my heart. I hope it's stirred your heart watching as well. And we just thank you, Moira, so much for your time today.
No worries.
And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for watching another episode of No Ordinary Woman, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.